How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them?
This is what real accountability can look like when someone truly understands the subject, because during a tense exchange, Seth Moulton, a Marine veteran with combat experience, methodically challenged Pete Hegseth over claims about using Signal to discuss sensitive military details, carefully using Hegseth's own wording to pin down whether information like F-18 launch timing could be considered classified, and when Hegseth tried to deflect by broadly stating that everything under United States Central Command is automatically classified, Moulton pressed further, forcing the conversation back to responsibility and clarity rather than generalizations. As the questioning continued, broader concerns were raised, including leadership decisions and reported operational outcomes in regions like the Red Sea, and while interpretations of those claims can vary and require careful verification, the exchange itself stood out because it showed how detailed knowledge and precise questioning can quickly expose weak arguments, turning what might have been a routine defense into a moment of intense scrutiny.
Secretary Hegseth, I'd like to clarify a few important details for the record. When you texted the launch time for F-18s going into combat over enemy territory facing anti-aircraft missiles on an unclassified signal chat, did that launch time come from Central Command, yes or no?
I know what you're referring to, and there were no
It's a very simple
targets
question.
or
Did it come from?
locations
It's a
or-
very simple question. Did it come from Central Command?
Well, in this committee, no way in which I communicate or what I communicate on a successful strike is something that I would share.
So you can't even identify the combatant command under which this operation occurred?
Well, everybody knows the
Okay, so everyone knows it's Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah. What was the classification marking? Because
Again,
DoD
classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
But you can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not
Okay,
trying to say
that's what
anything.
I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the
I mean, you
time,
said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
as I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not?
As
We've
I
already
said,
established, you've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or.
Okay, so if it is
What I
confirmed,
know is that
will you take
everything I
accountability?
share, everything I talk about,
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
And you know what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm just asking if it applies
very
to you.
successfully.
I'm not asking about the
previous
Houthis.
administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on
I'm
the
just
battlefield,
asking you about
we
I
actually
reclaim my
put them
time.
in a place
I
where
reclaim my
they
time.
called for a ceasefire.
I claim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by
Of
example.
course. Unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you.
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it costs.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
Divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told it's several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S. flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration.
The answer is zero.
Military vessels transit.
No, I didn't ask about military vessels. I
Well, which
asked
would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for.
How many commercial vessels?
transit.
It's been several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have
Well,
transited the Red
would
Sea?
you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The
through
questions
dam
are not to
for
me,
military
Mr.
ships?
Secretary,
So
they're to you.
We have responsibly put military.
The answer is zero.
ships through first.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but.
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain why was the Army JAG fired? Why did you fire him?
They all serve at the pleasure of the president. I think
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example.
I'm just
of
asking
a
you
leader
why.
that we
And
need
you
at
probably
this
learned
time.
at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we
Why
want better
did you
representation
fire
in
him?
each and every of those.
You can't
and
explain
every
why
one
you
of those
fired any of
places.
them?
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired the Army's top officer, Randy George, asking him to put in his retirement papers and step aside effective immediately, according to a DoD official. George is a Biden nominee who had more than a year left in his 4-year term as Army Chief of Staff. His departure comes as the Washington Post reports 2 other Army generals have been shown the door. That's according to 2 defense officials who spoke on condition of anonymity. Want to bring in Washington Post Pentagon reporter Dan Lamothe. Dan, what's your understanding of what's happening here?
Secretary Hegseth has had an interest in kind of turning over the senior military leadership for some time here. He's been very pointed about doing so. He has not always explained why he's doing so. And there's a lot of frustration within the Army over that. Particularly as not only these 3 gentlemen, but also several other names last year had presumed promotions that were blocked by Secretary Hegseth. In some cases, they would have become 4-star generals or taken on different 4-star general roles. Those positions also were blocked. So it's kind of a part of a larger pattern here.
Yeah, I was going to say none of this is happening in a vacuum because Hegseth has now removed more than a dozen senior military leaders from their positions, including all but 2 joint chiefs. You can see their names and faces on the screen. What's the impact of that, especially in the midst of an ongoing war with Iran?
I think the impact really is cumulative at some effect. The military is built where any one leader probably can be replaced, and within a short period of time, the military can move forward. But when you start taking out many leaders, multiple services, multiple joint chiefs, there's a cumulative effect to that where you start wondering how much institutional knowledge has been lost, how many points of contact that these generals have where they can reach back to allies, partners, adversaries, and affect change in a crisis.
Yeah, there's a reason that experience matters, especially in roles like this when the stakes are so high. And the stakes are so high given the news that we've been reporting over the course of the past hour. I wonder what you're hearing from your Pentagon sources about this search operation for an American pilot in Iran. If you have any sense of what led to that jet going down, too.
I don't at this point. I would note we did have fighter jets that went down earlier in the conflict. And in that case, they landed in Kuwait. Everybody was safe. This is a very different set of circumstances here with it being in Iran, potentially adversaries coming after the personnel down on the ground. There's a full crisis in the moment here to try and get these people back as quickly as possible.
This was far more than a heated exchange. It unfolded as a powerful lesson in accountability, delivered by someone whose record gave every word added weight. Seth Moulton did not approach this as a politician trading talking points. He came as a Marine who led an assault battalion into Baghdad, a Harvard-trained physicist, and a lawmaker whose credibility was shaped in combat and reinforced through years of national security work. That background mattered because as the confrontation with Pete Hegseth intensified, Moulton used both experience and precision to challenge what he saw as serious failures in judgment. At the center of the clash was Hegseth's handling of sensitive signal conversations, especially text messages involving F-18 launch times, information Moulton argued carried clear operational significance. As Hegseth attempted to shield himself through circular explanations, questioning whether the material was formally marked and suggesting he could not discuss its classified nature. Moulton cut through the deflection. He made the broader point that acknowledging whether something is classified is not itself revealing secrets, forcing a sharper question about truth, responsibility, and accountability. That moment grew even more significant when an Inspector General report later stated the original material was classified as secret, that Hegseth's messages closely matched it, and that the conduct posed real risks to pilots and mission objectives. But Moulton pushed further. He tied the discussion to what he portrayed as a pattern of failed leadership, including costly Red Sea operations where massive missile expenditures raised questions about strategy and results. He also challenged Hegseth on the removal of senior commanders, pressing for a professional standard behind those decisions, only to receive what many viewed as no clear justification. That absence of answers became part of Moulton's broader warning. For many watching, the confrontation was not simply about one hearing. It became about whether leadership means defending mistakes or owning them. Moulton framed the issue as larger than politics, arguing that mishandling classified material, failing to justify billion-dollar outcomes, and showing weak accountability raised deeper national security concerns. His message was clear. Service members deserve leaders who match sacrifice with integrity, responsibility, and sound judgment. Please click the subscribe button, leave a comment, and help us reach 100,000 subscribers if you enjoy Inside Politics.